What's up, gamers? Today we're going to have to talk about something serious, something that you can't defend, ladies and gentlemen. And what you can't defend is Starfield, all right? So I know we're going to start off with some spicy hot takes over here. This game is like a battleground, right? Like, this is where wars are being fought right now. PlayStation versus Xbox, okay? All that. But I'm here to like look at it a little bit deeper. Obviously, Starfield has had a lot of controversy. Starting off with like the reviewing for the game. It was very like it was handed out, in my opinion, to like preferential reviewers, which I guess you could say kind of gassed up its Metacritic review score. I actually don't really care about review scores, period. I care more about playing the game for like an hour and a half, because there are games that are reviewed poorly that I fucking love. And then there are games that are reviewed highly that I just can't stand. So I really don't care too much about that. I wanted to give the game a try. I tried it, and I have put about 30 hours into this game. So nobody watching this video can say, "Oh wow, Moody, you didn't get past the tutorial." No, I'm 30 hours into the game, okay? This is a 30-hour experience video, okay? So I'm not new. I've been here for a minute. Now, there's been a whole lot of controversy with the game's like pronoun system, which, to be honest, I don't even want to get into, don't even care. It took like 10 seconds of the game max, moved past it. There were some like mod sites removing like mods that were going to get rid of that feature. Again, whole different can of worms that I don't think is really that important if you look at this game's quality. Because at the end of the day, this is a Bethesda game. And to start off with, this is a decent Bethesda game. So people have said this game takes like 15 hours to get good, which I think is bullshit, okay? I think people playing that, all right, anybody mentioning that is like beelining the main storyline, which if that's what you're doing, yeah, Starfield sucks. The main storyline is not that interesting, okay? It's really just meeting a few new companions, flying to new places, doing like a 5-minute dungeon, 10 minutes, okay, if you're like playing it on a harder difficulty, and then picking up some like shard and putting it back in. It's such a boring quest line that I haven't even finished it. I occasionally do like a mission or two out of it, and then I'm like, yeah, let's go explore the rest of the world, because this is where the game actually shines. My first 15 hours of the game were actually better than 99% of people in terms of enjoyment. Because how I play Bethesda games is the moment Todd Howard says, "Oh, okay, I'm done holding your hand," I'm saying bye, okay? I've already cut ties. Todd is in the room talking about like some bullshit. I'm already out of the room, okay? In this game, I'm out of the fucking galactic system. So I immediately set off. I do my own thing, and I do two quest lines that immediately are some of the best peak Bethesda storylines. So I did Ryujin Corporation, which is like this cyberpunk corporate espionage quest line that you pick up literally by going to a terminal, filling out a job application, then showing up for a job interview. It's in like the cyberpunk city Neon, where you work for the corporation, and it's a fun quest line. You're breaking into like high corporate areas. You're stealing stuff, corporate espionage. All the fun stuff. And then I did a small storyline where I worked with a like enterprising drug lord and started to basically smuggle drugs out of a pharmaceutical plant and sell it in the galaxy, which was a fun situation. I finally made space crack. Okay, now I've yet to truly optimally build the proper space crack den, but I will try. Trust me, they have an outpost system in the game. That's like the Fallout settlement system. So if anybody's gonna make a space crack den on the fucking moon, it's gonna be me, okay? Then I did another quest line, the Crimson Fleet quest line, which basically has you joining pirates. So you get arrested in the game, you get an option. Do you want to serve your sentence or become an undercover agent? And I became an undercover agent, but I ain't no Fed. I ended up becoming a leader of the pirates. So that was a fun quest line, okay? That was a fun time. It was filled with multiple choices, speed checks. Like literally, when I was building my character, I had to pick 3 background traits. One of them was gangster, and it came so effective in this entire quest line that it was fun to see. I love good speed checks, okay? And after that, it kind of just stopped, okay? It was over. One of the things that like really soured the experience was this was the moment where I actually tried exploring the galaxy. Now, Starfield is a game that has 1,000 planets, okay? Like Todd Howard claims. And I'm going to tell you right now, 20 of them maybe are worth visiting. Now I get it. Space is empty. Space mostly doesn't have anything in it. That's true. But this is a game about space exploration. And the space exploration side is actually the thing that hurts it. Now, when I'm talking about a good Bethesda game, I'm telling you this game has good cities to go to, interesting quest lines that they handcraft, and I'm not talking about the Radiant stuff, which is like the game generating random quests like, oh, I lost my purse at the coffee shop. Can you go to the coffee shop and get it for me? You know, you walk to the coffee shop, you pick up the fucking purse, you come back, and you give them the purse, and it's like, well, thank you. Oh, here's like 500 credits. Now please fuck off. And then the stupid quest, this Radiant dog shit, litters your journal for the rest of time, okay? I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about the fun, handcrafted side quests, which is something that has been in like every Bethesda game, okay? I have been playing Bethesda stuff since Daggerfall, okay? You know, the old DOS days, Daggerfall, back when procedural generation was literally popularized by, I mean, it was popularized in Arena, but Daggerfall, you know, Iliad Bay, they made that shit they made it one of the biggest game worlds of all time. But since it was procedurally generated, most of it was ass, okay? Like, you go to the dungeons are meant to be like literally 4 to 5 hours of gameplay each. Not joking. The towns were nice. It's a game that's built on procedural generation. And the thing with procedural generation is once you've seen like 15 of the game's prefabs, and I say prefabs because the way that procedural generation in Starfield and most games really work is you find a planet, you pick any point on the planet, and the game loads you into that area. Now, the game size of this planet you drop into is not infinite, but it's also not small. It's like literally the size of like Cyrodiil as a whole, like the map of Oblivion's. Like if you took its like kilometer squared size, its area, that's the amount of land size you're talking about. But see, here's the difference in that. Oblivion's actually an interesting game world, okay? There is still shit to this day in Cyrodiil that I find on a new playthrough, okay? Wild! You know what the thing in Starfield space exploration is? You drop on a planet and you open up your surface map, which it has maybe like 3 or 4 points really on the surface map. So you bring up the scanner, you look at these points, and it can either be like a natural point, which is like sometimes it's like ice sticking out of the fucking ground. Sometimes it's like air vents, you know, from the center of the planet. Sometimes it's an outpost, all right, or like a station, which is basically like 15 or 16 different like layouts that the developers have made that are just automatically littered as you land on the planet. So from what you're gathering out of my statements here, it gets boring really fucking quickly. And there's maybe a couple outposts that are like uniquely made that have an interesting tinge to it. I've streamed the game at least twice, and one of them was we went down this like liminal space corridor, and you could just hear banging like in the vents, and it was kind of creepy, really creepy. You go outside and like this level 30 monster drops, which was banging in the vents above. So that was one cool moment out of like 300 mediocre ones in space. So this game is interesting because I love the Bethesda parts of it, you know, where you go and do these faction quests and interact and get into like combat. Even though combat is not that exciting, it hasn't upgraded from Fallout at all. Like we're talking AI is still for the most part like you shoot them in the face, or like they just stay like that for a minute. So you just walk up to them, put a bullet in their head out of like, you know, humanity, if you will, right? Like, fuck, this guy's like alt F4ing right now. I gotta finish it quick. So when you get to the space exploration that is not handcrafted, it is ironically the most boring part. So you can build outposts and farm resources, and then you can eventually like supply line and create like a daisy chain of like outposts where you can like actually make some good money, build some cool stuff. But a lot of it isn't really that necessary. If anything, it just feels like a waste of time. The game's actual like 1,000 planets are just boring. So at the end of the day, this game is a Bethesda game, where I really feel like if you took Skyrim, like the whole map of Skyrim, the best way that I can put it is if you took all the towns in Skyrim or Oblivion, right? Like, let's say that in Skyrim, there's towns like Whiterun, Riften, Solitude, Markarth, you know, these towns that are scattered across the map. You take those individual cities out, towns, and you just like put them on different planets in Starfield. Literally, it's the same size. If anything, These cities are actually a little bit smaller than even like at least Aquila City is smaller than like anything I've seen Bethesda wise. These cities are bustling, they're nice, they're cool, but imagine if like you just took the Skyrim cities, put them on different planets and called it a day. Because that's really what it feels like. Most of the time, you're actually just teleporting and fast traveling constantly between these places. Anytime that you're actually flying your ship in space, it's very far and few between. You really don't have a reason to go to space unless like something in the story warrants it or a side quest takes you there. And occasionally you'll do some space dogfighting, which isn't even that impressive because again, like the AI fighting on the ground, if they can't operate a fucking assault rifle in their hand, you think they're going to be flying a ship with like it's not exciting. It's nothing crazy. This game feels kind of like a successor to an old game on PC known as Freelancer, so kind of like Freelancer 2. Except, it literally the best way to describe it is the space sections of the game actually feel like the stuff that's holding it back. If you took out the actual like space sections, the flying even, or you took out the shit where you're like landing on these like barren planets with like 3 or 4 points of interest that keep being repeated over and over and over again, then you might actually even have a better game than what they have right now. It really feels like the selling point for Starfield, to go into the field of stars really, is the only thing that's holding it back. That's one of the reasons where like I feel like this game has not clicked. It's not like Baldur's Gate 3, it's not like really any other game that's clicked for me. If anything, I loaded up Red Dead Redemption 2, and I've been blown away by stuff that I've missed in that game, even though I pretty much 100% of that experience. Starfield, in my opinion, is not like the greatest game in the world. It really isn't. I don't want to call it midfield because what's there as a Bethesda title, in my opinion, is good. I like the side quests. I like anytime I'm on these main cities and these handcrafted locations. But honestly, the space exploration, landing on random planets, is probably one of the most boring, if not one of the most like kind of forgotten about things in this video game even. It's not like No Man's Sky, where No Man's Sky is also like you land on a planet, it's also kind of barren, but there's at least like 5 or 6 different gameplay loops that keep you going to different planets and starting up resource farms and teleporters and creating a vast network. You really feel no urgency or need for that in Starfield, and it really feels like what should have happened with this game was instead of giving you 1,000 planets, they should have just given you the Milky Way galaxy, not the Milky Way galaxy, the Sol system, the system we're in right now. If this game had Earth, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, even though they're gas giants and you can't land on them, I don't want to start this shit again. Pluto, if you had built those planets and just focused on creating interesting points on those places, this might have been more of a slam hit. I really feel like 1,000 planets, when I would say 20 of them, maybe max, are worth flying and exploring, is just not a cool trade-off. It started out with this game feeling like what Star Citizen should be in single player, to realizing that yeah, it's just Fallout. It's just what Elder Scrolls should be in a space setting. But the space setting is the thing that honestly kind of holds it back. At least the exploration of space is so wholly forgotten about. All I can hope is the expansion pack that's coming out maybe addresses this, but guys, it shouldn't take DLC. These games should be like fully thought out as they come out. And I know that there's going to be a few people that are like, Muda, but mods are going to fix it. That is such a bullshit argument, even if it's for Bethesda, right? Like, Rockstar creates pretty good games. There's a lot of mods for GTA. That doesn't mean you need mods to make GTA an amazing 10 out of 10 experience. Out of the box, I would say GTA is a 10 out of 10 experience. The mods just complement and make it better. Anything that's barren in Starfield shouldn't just be addressed like, a modder will come by and make it better. I mean, at that point, Bethesda should just not release a fucking game. They should just release a planet like standard texture and call it a day. Modders will fill in all the story and every bullshit aside. No, that's not a good response. This is kind of like if you wanted to take the idea of Daggerfield's procedural generation and bring it to today's 2023 systems. Except, yeah, Starfield, it looks pretty at times, but I guess you could say the depth of space exploration is like as deep as like a centimeter worth of water. It's insane. But yeah, I want to know what you guys think about it. Maybe this might be a hot take. Shit, maybe I might not be a real gamer, I guess. I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, yeah, 30 hours. Decent introduction, but fuck. It's crazy to say that a space exploration aspect of a space exploration video game is what kind of is the least thought out. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. This is me, Mutahar, and yeah, I'm out.